In 1970, when NASA sent another manned mission to the moon, something catastrophic was about to happen before they could say, "Mission accomplished." It was the Apollo Mission 13, carrying 3 NASA astronauts who left the Earth to make it to the moon. But destiny had other plans for them. Let's travel back half a century to explore what went wrong with the spacecraft out in space and how the crewmen fought for their lives. The year is 1970, and it has been just over a year since man successfully landed on the moon in July 1969 after US President John F. Kennedy challenged his nation to land an astronaut on the moon. Apollo 13 spacecraft had a sophisticated design with 3 modules: the command module and service module with the main engines and 2 liquid oxygen tanks, and the spider-like lunar module. Apollo 13's core mission goals centered on conducting a detailed examination, survey, and collection of materials within the Fra Mauro Formation, which is a geological feature on the moon formed due to an asteroid impact. The study would contribute to a deeper understanding of lunar geology and enhancing scientific knowledge about the moon's composition. All was set, and the mission, commanded by astronauts Jim Lovell, Fred Hayes, and Jack Swigert, was lifted off atop the powerful Saturn V rocket normally on April 11th. The spacecraft hurtled towards the moon at a mind-boggling speed of over 24,247 miles per hour, and in 3.5 days, the crew would be walking on the moon. Little did they know, the seemingly routine voyage was about to plunge into the depths of uncertainty, and everyone would have their eyes and minds fixated on how the mission would proceed forward. As Apollo 13 traveled through the vacuum of space, the crewmen were even recorded on camera as they comfortably neared the moon. This almost hour-long broadcast was even aired by major TV channels, and astronaut Fred Hayes even kept the mood light by pulling practical jokes on his team members, one of which was that he pushed the repressurization valve, and it would make a loud noise and startle the other 2. This mission looked like the smoothest flight of the whole program, and smooth sailing meant no such work or troubleshooting for the command center. They jokingly said, "We're bored to tears down here." But just 10 minutes after the broadcast ended, and 56 hours into the mission, a life-threatening situation was about to unfold that would keep all of the people involved on the edge of their seats. Before we unfold the rest of the story, please hit the like button if you are enjoying the video so far, and subscribe to our channel to help us grow. Thank you. Now let's continue. The Apollo 13 mission had already completed 4/5 of the journey to the moon when, just a few feet below where the astronauts were sitting, a routine oxygen stir would become a serious problem. Oxygen stirring is a normal procedure that keeps oxygen even in tanks so it won't get uneven and cause problems with temperature or density. But in the case of the Apollo 13 mission, it caused a spark that found its way to an already damaged wire insulation. The result? An explosion ripping tank number 2 into space and causing tank number 1 to also fail. The men inside the spaceship thought of it as another of Fred's pranks. But when he was just as stunned as the other 2, they knew their mission was in serious jeopardy. The oxygen they had on board was used for breathing and also to power the command ship's fuel cells. So, losing even one was a serious threat to their life and their whole mission. The bang was loud and followed by some electrical fluctuations and loss of communication to Earth for a whole 1.8 seconds. This short time may seem nothing to us, but when you are floating around in a spaceship that's just had an explosion, it feels like a century. "Houston, we've had a problem here." These were the famous words that marked the glitch in the plan. The astronauts now found themselves trapped in a crippled spacecraft of failing systems. The command module's normal supply of electricity, light, and water was lost. Astronaut Lovell looked out the cabin's windows to find evidence of what had happened. And there it was, their precious supply of oxygen venting out into space. Reaching the moon was now out of the question, and all left to do now was to stay alive and return safely. Back on Earth, the Mission Control Room now had to devise completely new procedures and test them in the simulator before they could be passed up to the crew. The place was transformed into a battleground of frantic problem-solving. Each second became a heartbeat in a high-stakes drama as engineers devised life-saving solutions. The crew's fate rested on the shoulders of quick-thinking astronauts and the collective expertise of Mission Control. With a mere 15 minutes of power left in the command module, a support crew member on Earth instructed the crew on board to migrate to the lunar module. So, the two astronauts, Hayes and Lovell, swiftly traversed the tunnel, leaving Swigert to conclude the final tasks in the ailing command module. Now, a critical concern came up. Could the consumables sustain the journey home? The lunar module, designed for a brief 45-hour lifespan, now needed to endure for 90 hours. Oxygen wasn't a problem, but power was. The lunar module had 2,181 ampere-hours in its batteries. Ground controllers came up with a plan to use the lunar module's power to charge the command module batteries. They turned off non-essential systems and cut energy use by 80%. Managing the spacecraft's carbon dioxide levels also posed a challenge. Although there were enough lithium hydroxide canisters to remove carbon dioxide, but there was a compatibility issue. The square canisters from the command module didn't fit the round openings in the lunar module's environmental system. So, it was time to bring some resourcefulness into action. The ground engineers improvised a solution using plastic, covers from procedure manuals, duct tape, and other available items on the spacecraft. The crew received step-by-step instructions from Earth over an hour, and the makeshift solution was a success, promptly reducing carbon dioxide levels. Lovell later praised the impromptu collaboration between ground control and space as a fine example of cooperation between ground and space. Another big concern was water. The problem was they could run out of it 5 hours before re-entry at 151 hours. Luckily, calculations done on the ground and in the cabin suggested the systems could handle 7 or 8 hours without water cooling. The crew carefully rationed their water supply. They limited themselves to just 6 ounces each per day, which was only a fifth of their usual intake. Instead, they turned to fruit juices and opted for wet-packed foods like hot dogs when they ate it all. The disciplined approach to water usage had consequences: dehydration and loss in weight. Lovell lost 14 pounds, and collectively, the crew lost 31.5 pounds, an almost 50% increase compared to previous missions. Beyond the scarcity of food and water, the tense environment made sleep almost impossible, and to make it even more unbearable, it was biting cold inside too. When the electrical systems powered down, a crucial heat source was lost, plummeting the temperatures to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Condensation coated all the spacecraft's walls, adding another layer of discomfort to an already challenging situation. Everything got covered in droplets of water, and it was suspected that the conditions were the same behind the panels too. Everybody feared a short circuit, but thanks to the safeguards built into the command module after a tragic fire incident in Apollo 1 in 1967, nothing of that sort occurred. Just 4 hours before landing, the crew detached the service module, a decision held off due to concerns about the cold of space impacting the exposed command module heat shield. 3 hours later, the crew bid farewell to the lunar module, before gently splashing down in the Pacific Ocean near Samoa. Despite fatigue, the crew's overall health was good, except for Hayes, who suffered from a severe urinary tract infection due to limited water intake. The crew spent the night on the recovery ship USS Iwo Jima, and their journey continued to Hawaii, where President Richard Nixon honored them with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor. Sadly, none of the 3 astronauts got to travel to space again after the dramatic mission in 1970. To this day, only 12 people have walked on the surface of the moon, which might seem a very small number given all the advancement in technology that have happened since. NASA says there haven't been any manned missions to the moon due to lack of funding and interest. Fun fact, At the height of the Apollo missions, NASA received almost 5% of the US federal budget, but today it receives only 0.4%. Would another moon mission interest you? Tell us in the comments section. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to press the like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to our channel. And if you would like to know how NASA is behind so many of our common use items, check out this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video.